Good day, everyone. I bring greetings to you from whichever part of the world you're watching from, Nigeria, and those in diaspora. I bring greetings to all of you. My name is Isaac. I'm a real estate consultant in Lagos, Nigeria. Today, I would like to talk about a very important topic in real estate investment. It's about land titles and documentation. Very recently, I discovered a lot of people have been sending me series of mails, series of messages, about land titles, about land documentation, and some even lodge complaints of different experiences they have had when it comes to land investments and property investments generally. So because of the high level of ignorance out there and low knowledge of a lot of investors who are willing to, be a part of real estate investment, but have little knowledge, I decided to come out today to make out time to do this video, and I'm very sure at the end of this video it will be worth it. So deem it fit to subscribe to this channel, because from time to time I will be sharing real estate tips, real estate advices, real estate updates on this channel, and also send to your friends, your family, those who you know can benefit from this. Don't watch it alone. Alright, I would like to start by talking about the Land Use Act of 1978. It's a law that came into place in the year 1978 that says all lands belong to the state government. All lands are vested in the power of the state government. Only lands that have, been vested in federal government are not under the state government, but aside that, every other land belongs to the state government. But this particular law still recognizes the fact that lands originally belong to ancestral owners. Before the law came into play in 1978, lands were being passed from generation to generation. So this law just coming into play cannot just rule out the fact that these lands that were originally owned by a community, by villagers, by a particular family, cannot just rule out the fact that the land now belongs to the state government. So this law still recognizes that fact. A lot of investors have been having issues when it comes to omonile, when it comes to buying lands, and they have had a lot of experiences. It pains me a lot when I hear this kind of experiences, and I decided, let me talk on this today. So I would like to talk about the land classifications we have. We have some lands that are called the free lands, and we also have some that are called the acquired lands. When you talk of free lands, they are lands that are free from any kind of government acquisition. Such lands usually have titles such as the COO, which means Certificate of Occupancy, Governor's Consent, Gazette. But when you talk of lands that are acquired lands, these lands are lands that the government has shown some level of interest in them, and they are usually found or located in designated areas known as urban areas. These lands are yet to be deemed fit to either be free, or committed by the government. So in a little time, they are either free or committed by the government. But the government has shown a level of interest in such lands. So before you go ahead to purchase such lands, there are some things you need to know that are very, very important, so you don't just waste your investment. and you don't waste your hard-earned money. So I would like to talk about under the acquired lands. Now we have some lands that are known as committed lands. You know, under the acquired lands, the acquired lands are lands that the government has already shown a level of interest, but there are now some that are called committed acquisition. So when you hear of committed acquisition, it means the government has a specific purpose for that land already. The government has shown interest in the land and they have a specific purpose for it. So it could be for public interest, it could be for infrastructures, it could be for creation of road, it could be for creation of hospitals, it could be for creation of schools. So if you purchase such a land, in Yoruba we will say Oyolowa, that is, you are on your own. Such an investment it is very, very risky, because the government can come at any time, any day, and abolish whatever structure you have there. If you have built an house there, if you have put up a structure there, the government can come at any time and demolish it, because it is committed by, it is a committed land. You know, the land has been committed to the government for a specific project. So you don't near such lands. Once you hear this land is a committed land, don't bother to risk it. Don't bother to try to to dabble into such a land, so you don't lose out on your investment. Now that's for the committed acquisition. We also have another acquisition that is known as global or general acquisition. Now this global or general acquisition, they are lands that the government has interest on them. You know, they have been acquired by the government, but there is no specific interest. No specific purpose. There's interest of the government, but no specific purpose for such a land yet. So because the government does not have a specific purpose yet, you can still, move ahead to request for such a land from the government. And this process, for you to do something like that, to claim or reclaim such a land from the government, you need to undergo a process which is called excision. Now, excision means the process by which a certain portion of land is given back to the community. A certain portion of land that has been acquired by the government is now being released back to the community. Assuming the government acquired a land that is about 100,000 plots. Now, the government can decide, okay, as the government, we take 70,000 plots and we release 30,000 plots back to the villagers, to the ancestral owners, to the community, or whoever owns the land initially, and that 30,000 plots now becomes officially the property of that community. That means the government has officially released that portion back to them. It means the government has excised that portion of land back to the community. So such a community can go ahead and do whatever they like with such a land. They can sell it, and even sign the documentation for such a land. You can purchase such a land and you don't have problem. So that is for excised land, which is known as excision. Now, when you get excision on a piece of land, the government now goes ahead to say, okay, since we have excised so portion of this land, now we will publicize it. So we'll let the public know that this land has been released back to this community and they officially own this portion of the land now. So in such a process that the land has been approved by the government, to be released back to the community, now it is officially documented in a government publication that is known as a gazette. In that gazette, it is spelled out, it is detailed, it is recorded by the government that so portion of this land that we acquire as the government has been released back to the community, and that means that land has become gazetted, to the community, and the title that land now has is called a gazette. It's called a gazette. Now that gazette is such a very good title. Why? Because the government is aware that the land belongs to you now. The government released the land to you, and therefore you don't have problem when you have or you're in possession of such a land. Now, if peradventure you get a land that's because some people have mailed me asking this question that we got a land that is not gazetted, and we didn't even go through the land has not been excised. The land has not been excised. So what do we do? So this brings us to something called ratification or regularization. So you can pay a certain amount of money, to the government in ransom for the land, to get the land fully as your property back. But you need to pay a certain amount of money to the government for a land that has not been excised. That is called ratification or regularization. Don't mind the grammar, just try to understand what it means. So very quickly, I noticed from a lot of complaints that people have, I discovered that a lot of people just have a shallow understanding of land documents. A lot of people have shallow understanding of land titles, and that's why they fall victim from time to time. It's not easy to make money, and when you make money with a lot of sweat and you end up losing it just in the twinkle of an eye, it's it's nothing to write home about. So there are some documents you need to know very well before you proceed into any transaction, any property transaction. I will quickly shed some light on these documents and these land titles very briefly. The first one I will talk about is called the deed of assignment. This deed of assignment is the document that officially, indicates that there's transfer of ownership of a land from so person to a new person. Transfer of ownership from party A to party B. If party A initially owned the land and now resells to party B, then party B has to get the deed of assignment, not just pay for the land and get receipts alone. You don't just get the receipt alone, you need to get the deed of assignment. Because if anything happens, a lot of people are falling victim of this, and a lot of people make mistake in this area. They buy the land, they fall victim of the land having a C of O. Because it has a C of O, they feel, oh, we have a certificate of occupancy, a very good title, so we don't need any other thing. No, that is not right. You need to still get a document called the deed of assignment. So even if anything happens, when you get to court, it's the deed of assignment that you tender in court that shows that yes, there has been transfer of ownership of the land from the previous owner to you, the new buyer. So that's the deed of assignment. Now, for a land that has the title C of O, and you buy it, you get such a land as a new buyer. If the title is C of O, you need to get another title that is called the governor's consent. The governor's consent. the previous buyer has the certificate of occupancy, but now he cannot give you that title on the document you'll be getting now as the new buyer. You need to get a new title called governor's consent. This governor's consent means you take the deed of assignment to the land registry, and you get the consent of the governor to approve to the transaction that yes, the land has been sold to me as the new buyer. So once the governor consents to this, you get a new title that is called the governor's consent. You can also call the title registered conveyance, registered deed of assignment, different terms, just trying to explain the same thing. Now, I will be talking about another very important document that you need to get as a buyer, a land buyer or a property buyer. It's called the survey plan. If you get a land and you don't get a survey for the land, your transaction is not complete yet, because the survey plan is the document that shows the measurement of the boundaries of the land you bought. It shows the measurement of the boundaries of the land you bought, the description of the land you bought, the map of the land you bought. So if you buy a land and it doesn't have a survey, then how do you prove, how do you show, if anything happens later, how do you show that this is the area that your land is? How do you prove it? So you need a document called the survey plan, and this document is usually done by a surveyor at the office of the surveyor general. So you need to get a surveyor who can process this for you at the office of the surveyor general. And the survey plan usually has some things on it, some things it carries. It carries the name and address of the owner. It carries the description of the land you bought. It carries the beacon numbers. It carries the size of the land. It carries the building plan, and these are some of the things that the survey carries. So it's very important you get a survey plan for any land you purchase. Now, those are two very important documents you need to know before proceeding into any land transaction. Without those two documents, your transaction is not complete yet. So I will quickly talk about the land titles we have, so you can know the difference between the land titles we have. I've mentioned some, I've explained some, but I will still shed some light very quickly. Now, the first one I'll be talking about is not much of a title, but it is called excision. Excision is the process by which certain portion of a parcel of land, is released back. It could be by the government to the community that owns the land initially, or to the party that owns the land initially. So that means that land has been excised. It has been excised. That's the process called excision. So excision, if you see a land you want to buy and they tell you the title is excision in process, it's not really a title, it's just trying to explain to you that this land has not been fully excised yet, is undergoing excision process. That means the land is still undergoing the process of being released back to whoever owns it from the government. So that's what they mean when you see excision in process. Now, when the excision has been approved, fully approved by the government, and the government now approves and releases that portion of land back, then you now get a new title, which is called gazette. That means that land has been gazetted. and that gazette is a title. It's also a publication, that shows, where the government shows that this land, this portion of land, has been excised, has been released back. With the government, we approve to it. So gazette is a very, very good title. And perhaps I can even say the gazette is much more stronger than the C of O and the certificate of occupancy. A lot of people think the C of O is the ultimate title. No, the gazette is also a very good title. Why? Because the government the government consents to it. The government has released the land. So the government is fully aware that you are in possession of the land. The land has been gazetted. Now, I'll be talking about the next title, which is called the C of O. The C of O means Certificate of Occupancy. This is a certificate that the government issues to show or to tell that they have leased the land to a buyer for a period of 99 years. So after these 99 years, it's still a matter of debate what happens next to the land, but the government has leased the land to the owner or the buyer for a period of 99 years. That's called the C of O. Now, if you purchase a land that has the title C of O, you need to still perfect the title of that land in your name as the new buyer. But you need to get something very clear here. You cannot get a C of O twice. So instead of getting a C of O again, what you will now be getting as the new buyer is called the governor's consent. You'll be getting the governor's consent. Now that means when you buy a land with the title C of O, what you have to do, don't just sit down and relax and say, yes, I can rest now, I've gotten a land with C of O. No, it doesn't end there. If anything happens, if anyone comes up and says, I am in possession of this land, you still have to present certain documents that will prove that you have purchased the land. So it doesn't end there. You need to get the deed of assignment. Like I said earlier, you get the deed of assignment, you take it to the land registry. Take the deed of assignment to the land registry. It's usually done by a real estate attorney or a lawyer. They prepare it for you, and now the ownership the ownership of the land has been transferred to you as the new buyer. So when you take the deed of assignment and the survey plan to the ministry, to process the documentation, as the new buyer, you are letting the government know that you are the new owner of the property. So when the government now consents to it that yes, the property officially has been sold from party A to party B, maybe from Mr. John to Mr. Jegede. So now Mr. Jegede is the new owner of the property, and Mr. Jegede, because the land has the title C of O before, cannot get C of O again. The C of O cannot be given twice. So instead of getting a C of O, what he gets now is called the governor's consent. That is, the governor consents to the transaction that took place between both parties, and the governor consents to the fact that Mr. Jegede is the new owner of the land. So the governor's consent is very, very, very important as a land owner, and in any land transaction. For any title C of O, it doesn't end there. You still need to get the governor's consent. And the power of the governor, to consent to transfer of ownership of the land can be found in Section 22 of the Land Use Act of 1978. Now, very quickly, I would also like to talk about something called freehold. You can purchase a property and you see on it, they tell you this property is freehold. So freehold means that this land, according to the word freehold, it means this land is free from any kind of government acquisition. This land is free from any kind of government acquisition or any kind of encumbrance. The land is free. So these kind of lands are very good to invest into them as well, because once you purchase them, you can always go ahead to process the C of O as the owner of the land. The virgin owner of the land. You can always go ahead to process the C of O, and it's not so difficult because it's usually a virgin land. It has not been claimed by anybody before. The land is free from any kind of encumbrance. So when you see a land called with the name freehold, is also good. You can invest in them. They are usually much more cheaper, much more affordable than the lands that already have C of O. The C of O titled land can be like 10 million. A land with freehold or can be like a million, 1 million. So all when you process your documentation, everything to get your C of O, you may not even spend up to a third of 10 million or up to half of 10 million, and yet you have your title perfected. So it's also a very good option for those that don't have large budget. So you don't just need to wait until you have up to 10 million, up to 20 million, 30 million before you can invest in land. You don't need to wait before you can afford the lands with C of O or governor's consent or gazette before you can invest in land. You can also get lands with freehold, but what you need to do is as soon as possible, try to perfect your title. So the land has your name. The government knows, the government is aware that you have purchased such a land, and the land has your title. As C of O, that is the certificate of occupancy. You possess it, then you can say you have secured the land. So with this very few explanations, I believe I've been able to at least shed some light to your concerns, shed some light to the different complaints I've been getting, especially from people in diaspora who have made a lot of mistakes when trying to invest. Real estate investment is very, very good. It's very, very good, and is still considered as the best investment you can do to get very good return. A lot of other investments out there, they can crash anytime, but real estate investment is an investment that always keeps appreciating, because land never depreciates. Land always keeps appreciating, especially in a location like Lagos, where we have lands, doubling in prices. Land prices are just increasing in geometric, at geometric rates every day. In locations like Ibejuleki in Lagos, where we have various international projects that are coming up. I will drop my contact on the screen, and also drop my contact below this video, so you can feel free to message me. You can feel free to call me from whatever part of the world you are, be it UK, US, Dubai, Canada, Nigeria. I'll be glad to respond to all your inquiries. So just message me, give me a call, let me know your name, your budget, and we take it up from there. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to this channel and share this channel. Share this channel name with your friends, with your families. Also share this video with your friends, with your family, so they can be a part of this. A lot, so more people can be enlightened, and the mistakes we make when investing in real estate, can be taken out, can be ruled out. So share with your friends, share with your families, subscribe to this channel, because I'll be sharing videos about real estate advice, real estate updates, real estate tips from time to time. Thank you so much for watching. I remain Isaac, your real estate consultant. God bless you.